You are listening to a comedy podcast brought to you by the one, the amazing, the funny Love Dev Bart Pager. This is his podcast. It's called A Crazy Little Thing Called Love Dev. Today's episode is 180. Ice cream. Hello everybody, welcome. I am absolutely fed up. I was meant to start this podcast ages ago this morning. It's currently 11 o'clock in the morning when I'm recording this podcast episode. You don't even need to know that, but I'm just telling you, I've been up since 9. I thought, right, have a shower, come downstairs, get on the podcast. Because my builders are not currently here, they said they'll be here later on. I thought, right, before they get here, I can talk as loud as I want and I can get this podcast done for the week. I've just had an absolute nightmare. So I'm trying to get more money to get my building work done, and I'm asking the bank to lend me a little bit of cash. God, how long does it take to get money from the bank? They ask you they want everything. They want to know what you're doing, what time you use your toilet, where do you go, how much petrol do you use, who pays you, how much do they pay you, what happens if you're off sick. Oh my God, it's an absolute nightmare. If I knew it was going to be this hard to get money, I would have tried to get it first, if you know what I mean. I would have got the money and then got the builders in. And I bet a lot of you thinking, that's what I would have done. But I didn't know it takes that long trying to get cash off the bank. I don't want to ask people to lend me money. I don't like asking people to borrow me any money at all. I'm happy to give people a little bit of cash if they need it. But I'm one of those people, I don't like asking for money. As banks are the worst, aren't they? They make so much money off us. I think, obviously, they've got to do their checks. They've got to make sure you can pay in case something happens to me or my job. Or maybe I should tell them I've got life insurance. They might give it me then. Oh, my God. So I've been on the phone back and forth, and it's been an absolute nightmare. So they're asking for one of the weeks that I worked. But I think every week is numbered. I didn't know that. On your pay slip. Did you know that? Your weekly pay slip, because I get paid weekly. It's all numbered. I didn't know that. So they're asking for week 7. And I went onto my employer's website where I can check my pay slips and the shifts that I'm booked for and stuff. And there wasn't a week 7 on there. But then I noticed there was a week 8 and there was another week 8. And I thought, well, that's strange. How does that even happen? Like a big, massive company could do that. The only thing that I could probably think of, maybe I made a mistake on a timesheet and then I sent it off and I sent it back saying, no, you still made an error, and I had to change it again. And then when they did finally pay me, it was the same week of the other pay. That's the only thing I can think that's happened. It's like the bank think you're up to something, so how come you never worked that week? And how come you didn't work that week? I had a week off from what I'm doing. And that wasn't even my own fault. That was because the family wanted a break. So that week, I didn't get paid at all. I had to rely on gigs. And then the bank were like, why weren't you working? It's like they want us to work all the time. I'm sick of working, to be honest. Absolutely sick. I'll tell you what's hilarious. Because I'm getting the work done on the house. So somebody I know, we'll call him Steve to hide his identity. Steve listens to this podcast, and he's a friend of mine. He sent me a text message. I forgot to mention this on the last podcast. He sent me a message. He said, let me know if you need any help painting. And I thought, How does he know that I need a painter or I need, And I said, news spreads fast to him. And he went, you told me. And I went, I didn't tell you that. How? I haven't told you nothing, mate. He said you did. He said I heard it on the podcast. First of all, I didn't even know he listens to my podcast. I think he mentioned it ages ago that he listens to it. But when you forget, and he was like, no, I heard you say on the podcast, on one of your episodes, that you painting your house. This is what happens to me. This is like that couple that saw me in Nottingham at a gig and now they're just stalking me. I don't even know if they're still stalking me. But they know everything about my life. It's mad, innit? I forget what I say on the podcast. Actually, if you are a good friend of mine and you want to lend me some cash, and I need the cash, interest free, I will be grateful. I will perform just for you lot. That's what I would do. I was going to tell you something about performing, but I thought because I've already started, let's break it up, innit? That's what I like to do. Break up the podcast, Mr. Love Dev. I haven't done an interesting facts for a while, have I? So I thought, let's just do one of them. God knows if it's going to be interesting. Probably boring. But who knows? Here it is.
Oh, that's interesting.
Oh, that's interesting. What is it that's interesting? Before I do that's interesting, I'm just going to tell you something. I was just about to tell you all this, and then I heard a very interesting noise from the kitchen. It was quite loud, and I thought, it's not my kids, because my daughter's gone to London. The big smoke. 16 years old, gone on the coach with her best mate to London. They said it's like a school trip. I said, you've left school now. That's interesting. And then this noise that I heard in the kitchen, it felt like somebody smashed a window, but it wasn't. It's the washing machine. It's going crazy. It's going absolutely mental. So that is interesting. But let's do the actual thing. This.
Oh, that's interesting.
Oh, that's interesting. That's interesting. What is it? Well, I found it on Chat LGBT. I asked LGBT, give me something interesting that I don't know. It's told me the mysterious disappearance at Lava Lake in 1924, somewhere in Oregon in the USA. It was during a harsh winter. There were 3 fur trappers. There was Edward, Roy, and Dewey. We'll just call him that. I can't be bothered about doing their whole surname. They were spending the season in a remote cabin near Lava Lake. There weren't any amateurs. These were proper men, these were. The rugged experience, used to tough winters, wild animals, and isolation. So apparently they were last seen alive in January, but they expected to return in February. When they didn't, concerns started to grow. It wasn't until April, after the snow had melted, that a friend and a fellow trapper hiked up to check on where they were, and what he found sparked a mystery that still haunts the region to this day. What happened to these blokes? With my washing machine spinning in the background. The trapper's cabin was undisturbed, but also unsettling. Inside the table had been neatly set for a meal. Food was still in the cooking pots, now burnt and crusted, as if someone had interrupted while preparing their dinner. They got attacked by the Bigfoot, didn't they? They never came back. All their supplies were there. So their rifles were untouched, coats were hanging, no pegs, no signs of a struggle, and there was no signs of the men either. The only clue was a trail of blood outside, frozen in the snow, leading away from the cabin towards the lava lake. Did a Bigfoot giant go in there, grab them, bit one of them, and just dragged them out? That's why there's a trail of frozen blood in the snow. A proper search party was formed. Soon after, the men's bodies were found under the frozen surface of the lake. They were weighted down with wires and rocks. That does not sound good. Serial killer is now coming into my head. All three showed signs of a violent death. One had been shot in the head, definitely a serial killer. Another one had a crushed skull, and the third was stabbed. It looked less like a wilderness accident and more like a triple homicide. But who could have done it, and why? The cabin was far from civilization. There were no footprints leading to or from the scene. No suspects, no motive. The area had seen tension before between trappers, sometimes over territory, sometimes personal grudges, but nothing ever connected these men, which makes it even more interesting. Despite the months of investigation and naming of possible suspects, no one was ever charged, and the case slowly faded into legend. And here we are over a century later with more questions than answers. Did someone sneak up on them in the middle of the night? Was it a robbery that went wrong? Or is it more darker and sinister with buried by snow and time? So whatever happened to these three in that lonely forest in Lava Lake still remains one of Oregon's most chilling, unsolved mysteries. The kind that leaves you double checking and locking your cabin door. That is today's interesting fact. So the other week I was doing a gig for a private birthday party for a lovely lady named Jas. It was her 40th. When I got to the venue, her husband greeted me and he was like, "Oh, I used to listen to you on the radio." People still remember me. Unbelievable. It's been, nearly 7 years now. I can't believe it's been that long. 7 years ago, I was on the radio station and people still remember me because his wife is the one that booked me for her birthday. And he said, "Oh, who did you get for the comedian?" And she went, "Oh, I got some guy named Love Dev." And he was like, "Oh, I know him. He was on the radio, on free radio. We used to be the breakfast host." And I was like, that's mad, isn't it? How people still remember me. You think people would forget, but they don't. They still remember. It's mad. Anyway, I don't know why I need to tell you that. But I had a great do. It was an Asian party. Well, Asian and English. And Jas's family was there. And Jas's dad was a right one. Every time I was on stage doing bits of material, he would join in. And I actually said to him, I said, "Mate, you remind me of my dad. You're very annoying." Oh, God, that's hilarious. But yeah, no, he was fine. Everybody else enjoyed it. It was okay. It was one of those gigs where, it's a party. Not everyone's going to be into comedy, but just do what you got to do. And I did what I did. And I think there was a couple of people there that really enjoyed what I was saying on stage, and I appreciate that. So yeah, I had a private party, private function. If you want me for your party, wedding, whatever it is, you want me at your house for any reason, maybe it's to collect money for a loan, or you just feel charitable and you can give me a bit of cash, let me know. Send me your address and we'll take it from there. Do you know what I love on this podcast? I love doing a confession. Let's see who's confessing on today's episode.
Confessions the church, red it's the priest, a click to cleanse or fuel the beast.
Right, today's confession. Today's confession is by somebody called Brit Git. They have got something before that, but I don't want to say that word because you know me, folks. I like to keep it clean. Brit Grit I'm guessing they're from Britain. Are they? Maybe they're not, or they're just like the word Brit. Or maybe their name is Brittany and they're Australian. Don't know why I said that. Doesn't matter. It's always and usually from Confessions Forum on Reddit. Let's see what Brit Grit has to say. Their confession: I'm getting free internet and I'm not going to tell whoever's paying for it. First of all, hats off to you if you're still getting free internet. Do you know what? Before I read out what Brit Grit has to say, I've got my own confession. I feel like because of this post, I can do my one. So excuse me while we do crazy little thing called Love Dev. That's his username. Let's do his confession first.
Confessions the church, Reddit's the priest. A click to cleanse or fuel the beast.
Yes, apologies that you had to listen to that again. But this is my confession. A reason I'm doing this confession is because it's similar to Brit Grit. Now, my confession is I used to get free internet. I'm not going to tell you who the provider is because some of you out there might just report me to the feds and I'll be locked up or something. I don't know. But I'm going to tell you how I got free internet. Many years ago, I'm not going to give you the year, but it was many, many years ago, I used to have a modem. I think they're called routers now. In America, they call them routers. I don't know why. It's called a router, mate. I used to have a router, and that router was able to be connected to an outside wall by a company. We're not going to name them, but let's just call them Gherkin. Gherkin Media. Don't know why I said that. Gherkin Media was the provider. I used to get free internet. I don't know how it worked, but a mate of mine was able to connect to somebody else's ISP address. So I'm using, it could be a bloke who's probably a mile away from me. I would be using his ISP address and be able to use his internet. I was doing that for years. Years and years and years. I think it was about 6 years I had free, full fibre internet from Gherkin Media. Now, the reason I'm confessing is because that doesn't work anymore. So I'm very intrigued by Brit Grit's post. Let's have a look. I've got a feeling it's gonna be Wi-Fi, maybe, because I know some Wi-Fi are open, especially like when you go shopping, you go to a mall, you go to I don't know, Costa, McDonald's. They'll have free internet there, which you don't want McDonald's Wi-Fi. As a gamer, if your internet connection is bad, we always say you got McDonald's Wi-Fi. You need to get rid of it. So I hope it's not McDonald's Wi-Fi they're using. There is an edit from Brit Grit. Let's get down to the cracking confession and see what it's all about. Brit Grit is saying, I moved into my current place over 2 years ago. The place was empty, but the old internet router was left. It couldn't have been in a mistake. It was by itself in the middle of the room, and it was still plugged in. I assume they left it there as there it was, still connected, and the internet connection would stop working in a week. So after moving in, it's still going strong over 2 years later. My place used as an Airbnb before I bought it, so I presume that the previous owner perhaps has a few places they use as an Airbnb, and this internet renewal just gets lumped with all the other ones. Who knows? Not me, and I'm not going to find out. So are you basically renting? So if you're renting, then that person has left the internet there. Maybe you're right. Maybe it used to be someone's property that they rented out and they forgot to cancel the internet and just left it there. You are lucky. You're getting free internet, like legally. It's not like you're even stealing it like I did. And I'm proud to admit it. That's the worst thing. But you're getting you're telling the whole world that you're getting free internet because the previous owners have just left the router there. Maybe they're loaded. Who knows? There is an edit on this post. As I said, Brit Grit is now saying, I'm not worried about data security. It's a standard home broadband connection. If they were IT literate, they would have something a bit more fancy and would have changed from the standard SSID password and changed the admin password, all of which was still set as the router was supplied. I would say just, you know what? Keep using it. Don't even speak to the landlord. If you're renting out, don't go, whose internet box is this? Because it's not mine. I'm not paying for it. They're going to freak out. They're making money anyway. If you're renting, whoever's got the place is making money. If you've bought the property, happy days to you. The only time you're going to have an issue is when your internet goes down. Or when they change the router. But I'm wondering, if they change the router, as because technology is getting better and the speed of the internet is getting better, like my internet is great now. I'm not with Gherkin Media anymore. Gherkin Media out the window, mate. So, yeah, if you getting free internet like that, then I don't know. Just crack on. Also, I helped a friend out. I've just remembered. You know when I went to do that private function gig for that lovely 40th birthday party? So after that, I went to London. Well, say London, it's St Albans. It's on the outside of London, but it's not London. So that does not matter. I went to St Albans for a friend of mine who's got a show called Identity Theft. It's ran by Steve Lee, who plays a character called Madron. And it's an absolute bonkers show. Now, he needed a last-minute replacement. But I injured my foot, unfortunately. And I was a bit worried about getting to the gig. And I had another gig the next day, which I had to cancel. And I only worked one day this week at work. So I'm really going to be feeling it on the money. But if you are very generous and kind, you can donate anything you like to me. I would appreciate it a lot. Even if you gave me, I don't know, how much do I need? 20 grand? If you can't give me 20 grand, give me £1,000. That will pay towards my villa on my holiday. And leave me with a little bit of spending cash. So yeah, that would be fantastic. Let's get back to the story. So we did this last minute thing. He needed an act. So it's kind of like a mix-max show. But I don't want to give it away too much. But I played a taxi driver in it. And we worked on this taxi driver bit for about 2 days, I think it was, in that week. And I was really confident about it working. And it did work, which I'm very, very happy about. That was something that I did over the weekend, which I wanted to mention. Before I actually go and do today's weird news, I want to do a quick
Ask the UK.
That's right, a quick Ask the UK. Because I just saw it and I thought, what's happened here, man? What? I don't know. We're going to have to find out. Somebody on the Ask the UK forum, head requirement is saying, can I get compensation as a teenager? Depends what it is, mate. I need to know. He says he's 16 years old. Happy birthday, mate. He works at an ice cream shop, which obviously is very dependent on the weather for how well it performs. That's true. However, despite only being given 4 shifts through the entire month of 3, what kind of work is that, mate? 3 of them have been cancelled last minute, with today being cancelled without me being contacted. So I've spent 40 minutes travelling for nothing. I understand that it's not a professional job, so I shouldn't expect too much. But is there anything I can do about their unprofessional behaviour towards me? Such as bias with shifts and these last minute cancellations. Although the title says compensation. I don't think they're going to compensate you, mate. Do you work in it? Oh, you work in a shop. I thought you work in an ice cream van. Wouldn't you get more shifts if you was in an ice cream van? Because that thing's out every day, isn't it? Get the driver to drive it and you be in the back and do the ice creams. That's a thought. If you love ice creams that much, you could do that. Head requirement is saying, am I really just looking for any sort of action that can be taken? Thank you. He's very polite, isn't he, this lad? I'm going to do what everyone else does. I'm going to ask my good old trusty friend, ChatLGBT. ChatLGBT is basically saying, right now in England, there's no automatic legal requirement to be paid when a boss scratches a rostered shift last minute. But you can, if there is one. Check your contract or staff handbook. I'm doubting you got one of them. Some firms promise a minimum hour or a call-out payment. Ask in writing to be reimbursed for your wasted travel or guarantee a minimum number of paid hours. You can keep a paper trail of every cancellation and raise a polite, firm grievance if it continues. ACAS will step in for free for early cancellation if it's not resolved. So after 26 weeks, you'll soon get a new stationary right to request a predictable working pattern or a fixed hour contract. Now this comes under the Employment Rights Bill, which came early through Parliament. So they have to respond to your inquiries. Basically, just write a letter, I would say. Write a letter and say, can I agree to a fair solution within 24 hours of any notice of cancellation? I do agree with you and understand why you're frustrated, because that's the worst thing. You planned to go to work. You even made the journey, and for them to say to you, there's no work today, I think that's very wrong of what they're doing. And yes, they should compensate you for your time. You're travelling. Do you know what I mean? Even if you was there for an hour or two, travelling there, they should pay you that, because you just wasted a whole day. If I was you, mate, look for another job. Go and join an agency. That can be similar, though, but depending on the agency and what type of work they provide, you're more likely to get work. Or why don't you just become a healthcare like me? Plenty of work out there, mate. It's now time to end the podcast with today's weird news story. Indian police discover a Russian woman living in a cave with 2 daughters. Officials said she had spent years in the country seeking spirituality and living among nature, but now she faces deportation after overstaying her visa. I feel like I have already read this before, but let's have a look what it's about. While on patrol last week, looking for any tourists who might have gotten stuck in a landslide-prone forest in the southern town of Gokarna, which is in India. A police inspector spotted a statue of a Hindu deity peeking out through the lush green vegetation. Moving closer, he saw a makeshift curtain made of red saris that obscured the entrance to a cave. When he looked in, he was surprised to find a woman and 2 young girls living inside. The discovery was on July the 9th in Karnataka state, set off days of sleuthing by the police and government officials to piece together a 9-year odyssey that had led the woman to the cave. The woman, turns out, was a 40-year-old Russian national named Nina Kotina. She'd been living in the cave, which she sometimes used as a retreat, for a week with her daughters, aged 4 and 6. Happy birthday. She practiced yoga and meditated by candlelight and cooked on a wood-fired stove. Mr. Sridhar, I don't know who he is, and his team, I think he's the copper, initially tried to cajole Katina into leaving the cave in the gathering dark, given the area's heavy rainfall, luscious location, and a reputation as a habit for poisonous snakes. But Miss Katina told them she was interested in staying in the forest and worshipping God. Mr. Narayana, who's the superintendent of police for Uttarakhand, the district in which the Gokarna sits, the cave is in the town of the Ramatira Hills, where seasonal waterfalls and landslides are very common. Eventually, the police escorted the trio to a shelter for women run by a non-profit group. After charging her mobile phone, she had a mobile phone, Miss Katina emailed her relatives in Russia, "Our peaceful life in the caves has ended. Our cave home is destroyed," she wrote. According to a translation provided by the police, from years living under the open sky in harmony with nature, we know no snake or animal has ever harmed us. The discovery of Miss Katina on July the 9th raised a bigger question on where she had been since she arrived in India 9 years ago, which the police and the government officials trying to piece together from documents and interviews. In 2016, she entered India on a 6-month business visa. She went to Goa, known for its beautiful beaches, crowded with foreigners who also come to meditate and practice yoga and find spiritual connection. India, with its huge array of gods, deities, gurus, saints, mystics, multiple faiths, has long drawn notable visitors from around the world. In the 1960s, Beatles were famously spent in Rishikesh, which is a town in northern India, which sits along the Ganges River, a sacred place for Hindus. Practice transcendental meditation with a guru who later became world renowned. So Miss Katina overstayed her visa by a year and was allowed to leave India by government officials in Goa, and that was April 2018. She then went to the neighbouring Nepal, which is also a common destination for travellers seeking spirituality. So on a 90-day tourist visa, left that country in September, according to a stamp and an old passport sat among her belongings in the cave. Indian intelligence officials said Miss Katina had been back in India since 2020 and then re-entered the country multiple tourist visas. She actually came back with her 2 sons and daughters. Her eldest son died 21 years old. Oh, that's a shame. In a bike accident last year. And her whereabouts of a younger son, who is 11, is currently unknown. Her 6-year-old daughter was actually born in Ukraine, and the other one was born in India. Do you know what it sounds like? She must have... I don't want to read because it does go on a bit. I think what's basically happened is she's lost her son, her eldest, through a tragic accident. Maybe she's just trying to find peace, and her mental health is not the best, because any parent out there would not take their kids to a cave and be there for months. There's no way. So I hope she finds peace and the help that she needs. I'm not going to read all of it because it does go on and on and on a bit. But yeah, I hope that she finds peace and the police, resolve any issues that she comes across. But the funniest thing about it is that she started charging her phone. So she actually had a mobile phone. And it's a good thing that she did contact her family abroad, isn't it? That's it. That is today's podcast. Thank you so much for listening. It's actually been longer than it usually has, which is amazing. Because when I do these things, I'm like, I don't even know what to talk about. And look at me. I can't stop talking for the world. Thank you so much once again. If you like the podcast, give it a review and a share. It really does help with the algorithms. And if you got any money, send it over.